There was a time when music wasn't just something you tapped on a screen. It was an experience. The click of a button, the hum of a machine, or even the weight of a cassette in your pocket, it all meant something. Every format carried its own memories, its own quirks, and its own kind of magic. Today, we're looking back at 15 ways we used to consume music that don't exist anymore. Some you might remember fondly, and some you might be hearing about for the very first time. 1. 8-track tapes, the big plastic bricks. If you grew up in the late 60s and 70s, you probably had a shoebox full of these clunky cartridges. 8 tracks were special because they gave people portable music for the first time. You could finally take your favorite songs into the car. But they had their quirks. Songs would sometimes fade out mid-chorus, click, and then resume on the next track. By the early 80s, cassettes had taken over, and the 8-track faded into the rearview mirror. 2. Jukeboxes, the heart of the diner. Nothing says mid-century America like a glowing jukebox in the corner of a diner. Drop in a coin, flip through the titles, and with a satisfying clunk, the machine would play your song. It wasn't just about music, it was about the mood it set, the way it turned a room into a memory. As personal players became more common, jukeboxes became more of a novelty than a necessity, but their neon glow still brings back the golden age of rock and roll. 3. Mixtapes, love letters in plastic. In the 80s and 90s, a mixtape wasn't just music, it was a message. Friends traded them, couples gifted them, and each track was carefully chosen to say what words couldn't. Making one took patience, recording songs off the radio or dubbing from another cassette. The arrival of CDs, and later playlists, made it easier, but something about the handmade charm of a mixtape was lost forever. 4. Record stores, the hangout spot. Before the internet, the best way to discover music was to step inside a record store. Rows of albums, walls of posters, and clerks who knew everything about the latest bands. It was part shopping trip, part social event. You could spend hours flipping through the bins, hoping to stumble upon a hidden gem. As digital music rose, many record stores closed, but for those who remember, they were more than shops. They were temples of sound. 5. Phonographs, cranking up the past. At the dawn of recorded music, the phonograph was a marvel. You'd wind the crank, place the needle on the wax cylinder, and hear music play in your living room for the very first time. It was raw, scratchy, and short-lived, but it was magic. As technology advanced, phonographs gave way to records, but they marked the beginning of bringing music home. 6. Portable CD players, skipping down memory lane. In the 90s and early 2000s, no backpack was complete without a Discman. You'd pop in your favorite album and plug in a pair of foam-covered headphones, careful not to jostle the player too much, or else the music would skip. Anti-skip protection came later, but even then, they were clunky compared to what came after. Eventually, MP3 players and streaming swept them aside, but for a while, nothing felt cooler than carrying your entire album collection one disc at a time. 7. Car cassette adapters, the hack that worked. If you had a car without a CD player in the late 90s, chances are you had one of these. It looked like a cassette but had a wire leading out of it, letting you plug in a portable CD player or even an early MP3 player. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. Once cars started shipping with AUX ports and Bluetooth, the cassette adapter disappeared, but it was a clever little bridge between eras. 8. Home stereos, the living room stage. Every family had one, a giant stereo system with speakers that took up half the living room. These setups weren't just for listening, they were for showing off. Parents would crank up their favorite records on weekends, and kids would tape songs off the radio. As technology shrank and headphones took over, the big home stereo became a relic of the past, but they made music feel larger than life. 9. Cassette singles, one song at a time. Before downloading singles was easy, record companies sold cassette singles, also called cass singles. You'd buy a tape with one hit song on it, maybe with a B-side thrown in for good measure. It was a cheaper way to get the track you loved without buying the whole album. But as CDs and digital downloads took over, cassette singles were left behind. 10. Listening booths, try before you buy. Step into a record store in the 50s or 60s, and you might see small booths with turntables inside. Shoppers could sample a record before committing to buy it. For teenagers, it was a place to escape into music for a few minutes, even if you didn't have money in your pocket. As formats changed and stores modernized, the listening booth quietly disappeared, but they captured the thrill of discovery. Music has always been more than sound, it's the way we carry our memories. Whether it was pressing play on an 8-track, dropping a coin in a jukebox, or building the perfect mixtape, every era had its own soundtrack. And while the formats may be gone, the feelings they gave us still play on. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories about the way things used to be.